Now we're going to discuss more of the mechanics related to Monopoly and really take our understanding of Monopoly to a higher level than we've probably ever had before. The first thing we want to analyze is the demand curve that a monopolist faces. We have just explored perfect or pure competition. And what did the demand curve the perfect competitor faces look like? Do you remember? Of course, I'm going to draw it. So the demand curve that the perfect competitor faces looked like this. Not like that. That didn't show up very well at all. Let's see what this will do. Oh, there we go. Remember with demand curves, price is on the vertical axis, quantity is on the horizontal axis. I'm using a lowercase q because this is for a single firm. For the perfect competitor, there's a market price that is determined by the market as a whole. And the buyer of the perfect competitor's good will buy a little bit at the market price, or if the seller produces and brings to market a lot, the buyer will buy it. They'll load it on the tracks or on the trains and then on the tracks and down the road or whatever. They'll buy it, but only at the market price. So the perfect competitor faces this perfectly elastic demand curve. Whether they sell a little or a lot, they're a price taker. Now let's think about what that would mean, what it would mean to be the opposite of a perfect competitor and to be a monopolist. This is someone who is one of many, many firms selling an almost identical product or an identical product with many close substitutes with easy entrance and easy exit. A monopolist is the opposite of like all of that, right? They're the sole producer, which means their product is totally unique, and there only is them. Unlike being many producers, there's just them, and so there aren't any substitutes for their product. So what that means is that the demand curve that they face is the entire market demand curve. So they face a downward sloping demand curve because they face the entire market's demand curve. I think another fun way to think about the situation for a monopolist is to think about their ability to influence price, because they're a price taker, right? They can't affect the price. But the monopolist over here is a price maker. And you might think, well, that's cool, they can jack up the price. Or maybe you think that's terrible because they can jack up the price. However, it depends on what side of that transaction you're on. I know. But another way to think about it is they have the ability to flood their own market. Like, there are some consumers willing to pay a very high price for the good. If the monopolist increases quantity, what will happen is those people will have bought it, and then to get other people to buy it, they'll have to get a lower price. They can flood their own market because they're the sole producer of a good. It's just what I'm presenting. It's just a different way to look at why they face the market demand curve as the sole producer, whereas they face this perfectly elastic curve as being one of many producers for the perfect competitor over here. So that is the demand curve piece of this, and I'm thinking, as I look at my notes, before I explore further, I'm going to pause this video, get this off there, and I'll pick up with those dreaded equations or formulas in the next segment.